Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. It's promptly 1 p.m. Eastern Time today here on Thursday. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter for our webinar event today. We're here to talk about sending emails from Church Windows, primarily Church Windows membership. Before we get started, we do have a very lengthy topic here. We're going to try to get it into our 20 minutes. It may go a little bit long, but let's get through a couple of technical issues here first before we get to our topic. I'm going to try to wrap up the topic here at 20 minutes after. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion or question pane of the webinar control panel there. If you don't have a dual monitor setup, go ahead and click the little red arrow at the sidebar of the webinar control panel. That minimizes that. Or drag it off to your second desktop if you've got a dual monitor setup, just to get that out of the way. I'll try my best to keep an eye on questions, try to repeat those for everyone's benefit. I do have somebody here helping to answer questions today. And if not, I'll certainly be happy to stick around at the end and try to get some questions answered for you if we were unable to get those answered there. The workbook we're taking this from today is our M203 workbook, pages 16 to 27. I think that we had the wrong pages when this event was put on our website, folks. I apologize for that. So yeah, it is, at least we had the right workbook, even though we didn't have the right pages on there. Right church, wrong pew sort of scenario there. Hopefully if you've got the M203, you'll be able to find that starting on page 16. Pages 16 to 27. If you don't have the workbooks, by all means, folks, you can buy those from the store, the Church Windows store. We do try to follow along with our workbook topics on as many of the webinars as we possibly can, or to maintain some sort of documentation with regards to them. They're very helpful. We do get a lot of folks saying very nice things about that. So use those workbooks. They're affordable, they're available, and we try to keep up with them as much as we can. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into our topic here. So emailing from Church Windows and Church Windows donations, like if you're emailing donation statements, you can mass email those. You can email people from membership too. However, we can only use the email function that's built into Church Windows if the recipients have an actual valid email address in the software. So if we go into, say, membership, and we go to our people tab, we have to have at least a valid email address, not only an email address field, it's right over here. Let me introduce my highlighter friend. Right here, we've got email address. We've got other email address. Basically, you could set up as many email addresses in the software as you wish, but you do need to have an email address entered in order for the software to be able to send an email to somebody, okay? If you already have, and I'm on page 16 of the workbook here, if you've previously have the email set up for emailing your donation statements, those same email settings are available to email from membership, okay? You don't need to set up a separate email setup for donations from membership. They are available in both modules for us to be able to use and send emails from either donations or membership, okay? Certainly you may have different setups for email for different users if you wish. So if we go to, say, email here, our little envelope at our main screen, it opens up our step 1 screen, select who should receive the email. So this is always our who screen versus step 2, which is what, okay? So yes, you can have different email settings set up or different email accounts or SMTP setups for different users of Church Windows if you wish, or everybody can share and use one email setup in the system. It really depends on how you want the email addresses, the recipients to see who sent the email, the reply to email addresses, what have you. All of that impacts how many different email settings you have. So we're not going to choose anything here at our step 1 screen for selecting who should receive an email. Basically, we're saying we want to send an email to anybody in the software who has one in the database. So we're going to just click on next. And it takes a few seconds for that to generate, but notice down here at the bottom we see our email addresses that we have that the system has detected and found based on the query or the information that we've entered at the previous window. So we even notice down here at the bottom we have some folks who have 2. So what that tells us is that they have both the regular email as well as the other email populated, and the system is going to send the email to both of those, okay? But what we're really here to look at is right up here at the very top under our email settings, okay, right here. I've drawn a circle around that. Email settings, right there, okay? That is where the setup process occurs. So we notice here if we click the down arrow, we already have a setup in this window, and I'm actually going to use that. But when you're setting yours up for the very first time, you come in here and click the plus sign, okay? We're going to go over all of this, but I'm going to use the information that we have in our currently set up email setting that we have set up. So what I'm going to do instead of clicking the plus sign is I'm going to click the little pencil icon, my little Edit Server button there. So if I click on that, it now opens up the window we're seeing on page 17, which is our setup SMTP email. This is where the technical information is entered to be able to email from church windows. I'm being asked, can you put the screen in full mode? I can certainly go ahead and maximize it. I don't think that's going to make any difference in terms of the screen here. I don't think, Peggy. I'm sorry. It's as large as it gets. I can't change the size on that. I'm sorry. So our SMTP, if I'm not mistaken, stands for Secure Mail Transfer Protocol. It's a technical term, but that's essentially what that means. Display name is basically the name that you're going to, it's just an identifier for the particular SMTP email account that you're setting up or using. In this case, we've just called this email statements, but it doesn't mean it's restricted for emailing donation statements, okay? I can use this to email from either membership or from church windows. It might be important that we do have it set up for emailing statements if, say, something like our from email address is different from where our regular emails are sent from, or if our reply to email address is different, okay? That's where it might warrant setting up different email settings or email accounts, is again based on what information you're wanting the email recipients to see or respond to, okay? So in this case, you would just enter a display name, however it is. It could be secretary's email, or it could just be called church windows email, okay? The outgoing mail server, again, if we're wanting to set up a new one, you would click the Add Server button. When you click on Add Server, it opens up our SMTP server information, where you would then enter the appropriate host address information, host address, the port number, and the type of security that host address uses, okay? Again, we're going to go back in and bring up ours that we have set up. Notice here we've got one set up through Gmail. You'll have to obtain this information from your SMTP host provider. Typically, it might be your internet service provider, okay? Whomever your from email address is sent through, okay? So here you would, and oftentimes this information could be obtained from an FAQ page, or a support page, or simply by contacting their customer support, okay? So again, now, as an example on page 18 shows a sample might be outgoing.verizon.net, or as we see here under ours, smtp.gmail.com, okay? The port number is important, and so is your use SSL, and again, all of this information is generally obtained through your host, SMTP host server information, okay? Once this information is entered, we have to click Perform Connection Test. So once we click Perform Connection Test, it says Emailing Connection. So it's basically reaching out from Church Windows out to that SMTP host address and telling us whether it's actually communicating with that successfully. So here we says clearly connection test was successful, but it's important to understand that this does not guarantee that you will be able to send email using these settings, only that you are able to open a connection or communicate with the SMTP host server, okay? So that's step one of Church Windows that must be completed, okay? So we now know that's good. Until you can click a perform connection test and get a connection test with successful prompt, it's not set up correctly. You've got to get that to come back with a connection test was successful, okay? As we like to point out here a little bit, I'm going to start introducing this now, is folks go, what are these question marks? Well, notice here if we click on the question mark next to SMTP host address, it brings up information about what the field is requiring or asking for, okay? So if we click on port number, it brings up information about a port number. It shows us what common port numbers are used, okay? Again, your ISP or SMTP mail host, server host, will be able to provide you with information as to what port number they will typically use, okay? Once we've performed the connection test, we'll click OK. Here we are back at our SMTP setup. Same thing, we've got to enter an from email address. Church Windows doesn't enter one, you've got to add one, so you would click on the plus sign to enter a host address or an email address with the organization name. This is, again, the email address from which or through which the server is sending those emails, okay? Typically, again, with secure socket layer test or security, a username and a password is required. Not always, but typically they are. We want to make sure those email addresses are secured and not everybody has access to be able to get into those or into that email account, okay? It will tell you if it isn't when we run our send test email here shortly, okay? And if you wish the recipients to send replies to a different email address than the from email address, down here at the bottom under the reply to, let me get out my highlighter again right here, you would click the plus sign to the right and add that, okay? We may not want them to reply to the same email address that we're sending our emails through, okay? That's what that's for. Again, you would click add to add a new one or edit. And again, of course, you can delete any of these by clicking the minus sign to the right. But now we're ready to try to send our test email. So we click on send test email, and then it says enter an email address that you have access to test, a test email will be sent to that address. So if we type in, josh@churchwindows.com, and I click OK, it'll pop up and it's going to send that, and it's going to say, hey, you should receive an email at josh@churchwindows.com from 41st Church of Anytown, okay? If you do not receive this email, that indicates your settings are incorrect or your firewall or something's wrong, essentially, and we've got to get that fixed, okay? But since I did get the prompt that said it was received or sent successfully, I've now passed the 2 tests that I can now send emails from Church Windows, okay? I can now click OK through this. If it comes back and it says your test email failed, you can click OK on it, but it won't let you click OK through this window. Just like your connection test, you've got to send a successful test email, okay? Once the connection test and the test email are both successful, as far as Church Windows is concerned, you're ready to begin emailing from the software, okay? All right, so let's say I want to email a particular individual, okay? I can do that. But I can do that right from here. So if I want to do uncheck email for all and go, okay, I want to send an email to Abigail, I can do that, okay? There's also another way we can do it using our persons field. But before we go ahead and do that, no, we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to close out of here. We've got that set to go. So let's go into people now, and we're going to want to email an individual. So I'm kind of running short on time here, so I kind of want to move through this as quickly as I possibly can. So here we are. We've got Jen Arnold. She's got a couple of email addresses. I want to send an email to her, okay? So if I click on the, where is it up here? Email, where is it here? Sorry, folks, I'm just reminding myself here. Oh yeah, my report. So if I click on her individual record on the right and click print, it opens up and says, what do you want to do? Report, create a report for her, label, we're going to choose email. Okay. So now notice it's opening up the same exact window where we were before. It's just now got her name instead of a whole list of people here. So I still have to choose my email setting. I have to then now click the plus sign next to my custom email message. And it opens up my email creation screen. Okay. So here, this is very typical to what we would see with a regular email message. Keep in mind, folks, this is an email function that's actually in Church Windows. It doesn't use any other email program. This is an email program we've built into our software. It looks a little different, but in here, we would type in our subject, regarding meeting, something, and then down here we would enter, Abigail, and we would type in our message, and then hi, and we would just continue to type in our message, okay? So we have some controls here like we would typically have for other email functions or programs, okay, changing fonts and, formatting. We also have our insert tab here at the top, which again allows us to insert a table, inline pictures, hyperlink symbol. I can attach files to this. So if I click on attach, it opens up a browse window allowing me to choose a browse function, okay? And then and if I, were to browse and I could attach a file and it will show the screenshot like it shows at the top of page 21 there with regards to, whatever document or photo or whatever it is I was wanting to attach, so I can do that to a group of folks too, okay? But then when I'm ready to send and I click the little down arrow here, I can do a quick print, I can print it, I can preview it, I can save it, I can send a test email, or simply I can go ahead and click send. And that would then send that to that particular individual recipient, okay? Then, so if I want to save a message, if I want to create an email that I want to save, let's see, I think I'm going to close out of this and it should pop up. Do I want to save this message? So if it's a message that I might want to be able to save and send to other people in future, like if you've got regular emails, an email that you send to folks monthly, maybe with your, newsletter attachment or something, you might want to save this. So if I say save, it's going to pop up, and it's going to pop up whatever the subject line shows. So right here, notice it says, email message. So if I have others, I'm going to be adding them in future. It's going to be showing that or in that drop-down list as well, okay? You can create custom signatures here. So if you want to create your signature different from other folks, again, you would enter that, okay? And you would type in whatever you want your signature to be. So then whenever you want to be able to bring up that signature, you simply bring that up in the menu right here, and then it'll attach that signature to that particular email, okay? Again, we're running short on time here, folks. I kind of want to quickly go through this. Anytime I'm emailing, it doesn't matter whether I'm going through individual email or whether I'm emailing to a group. So if we go to, our final topic here, with just a minute or two left, is, emailing a group of people. So if I go to, say, my groups and skills, let me go to reports and export, groups and skills. Notice here I choose groups and classes. It's asking again, what do I want to do? Create a report for them, labels, or do I want to email? So here I would choose email. And then it says, which groups do you want to email to? So let's say I want to check my finance committee. I add my selection. I go to next. Here I'm back at my step 2 screen. Oh, nobody there. Just thought I had folks in that group. Folks, sorry about that. So let's close out and try to rebuild that again. Groups and skills. Let me try to find a different group. How about adult choir? Let me see. Hopefully I can choose. Let's just do a select all. I want to email all of my committees. So then we click our, here we are back at our step 2, requiring us that we choose our email setting, choosing a signature if we wish, and if we've got a message, or if not, I would create a new one, or I would choose, there's my re-meeting again email that I've done before. It should open up that. It's choosing that same one. The assumption is I don't want to edit that. If I want to, I can click the little edit button to the right, and it opens up my originally saved email, allowing me to make an edit or a change to that, okay? And then again, once I'm ready, I can click send email and it will send it to all of my recipients right from the list, okay? All right, folks, I'm sorry I've gone a little bit long here, but finally, and I'm seeing kind of a question out there on that, is do I want to save it? So I would say yes or no. But right here, we've got our view sent email logs. I think it pops up automatically when the email is sent. It says, hey, these emails were sent. Would you like to view the log? But if you want to, you can always go in here and view it, okay? It doesn't look like we have any sent because I haven't sent any. I don't have real email addresses in mind. But when yours do, they will show up there, okay? Folks, don't overthink this. The software will tell you when something is not set up properly, and it will tell you when emails have or have not been sent to recipients, and then you can go in and research that. But generally, there's a couple or so that are not sent because we don't have something entered correctly or properly. But again, you have pretty much full control with regards to this, okay? We do have a video, I think, out there. We're recording this one today, but I do believe we already have a video out on the website now about this same exact topic from, earlier this year, last year. Let me close out of that, get back to our website, do Support Center. Looks like Jen's been answering questions pretty on top of things here regarding that. So let me click in here and type in, come on, Josh. It's a big page. It takes a little bit of time to load. So if I type in email and click search, email setup, there it is, version 17 and newer. That was recorded from, Sev 16. Here's another one from sending emails, version 17. That's the one we're talking about now. It was from last year. So folks, you've got information out there now if you'd like to get a quick review of that, okay? Or this one will be out on our website on the Support Center here in the next 7 or 10 days or so, okay? Let me see what questions we've got. If an email is not sent because the address was incorrect, will the system advise us of that? Well, Evelyn, it'll tell us when the email was not sent. You'll have to determine that it was incorrect. It'll show you as part of the log that the email address was there. You'll have to go into the individual's record and fix that, of course. Is there a limit to a limit of email addresses we can send? We have 250 members. That's a great question, Mary Lee. In terms of Church Windows, there's no limit on that. What you may be limited to is by your internet service provider. It is important to understand that Church Windows is literally sending out one email per recipient, one right after the other. So some of you that may have already have this set up may have already experienced that. It takes longer because it's not using a carbon copy or a blind carbon copy function, because that's what internet service providers do to help you, stop you from getting spam, is if it detects it as carbon copied or blind carbon copy, basically they're going, wait a minute, this is spam and I'm going to stop it. Generally, most folks don't have any problems, but it could if your internet service provider has a limit in terms of how many emails you can send in a day or at any given time. But you'll get that, you'll see that as part of the email log. It'll tell you when it's reached a limit, and if you see that happen 2 or 3 or 4 times, you might want to make a call to your service provider and find out, hey, do you have a limit in terms of email addresses I can send? If so, then you may want to change to a different SMTP email server, one that doesn't have a limit. Next question, if email has been set up for donations, will that info transfer into membership? Arlette, yes, that is absolutely true. Yeah, all of that information, all of those email settings show up in both donations and in accounting. Great questions. All right, let me see if there are any other questions coming in. I'm not seeing, okay, there's one. Can you BCC someone when sending an email? Evelyn, no, there is no blind carbon copy or carbon copy function in Church Windows. You'll choose 2 recipients or more, and they'll each both receive their separate email. But again, client BCC is what flags email as spam and why we don't do that. It sends literally one email right after the other to your recipients. That's why it might take, if you've got 200 or 300 emails you're sending, it might take 20 minutes to send those because it's sending them separately. but that's what we have determined allows for greater rate of success of sending them. All right, again, I apologize, folks, for going long. We hope this has been helpful. I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. If you have questions, of course, please contact our support staff, 800-533-5227, and we hope to see everyone at another future Church Windows webinar event. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.